We're on all. Hey, welcome back to the show. Today we're going to try and use the Marshall DSL20H to try and make it sound like a Plexi style amp to get the Randy Rhoads tone from Blizzard of Oz. I don't even know where to start, as Randy Rhoads is one of the greatest guitar players ever, and he inspired me so much to play. I find all the licks just so perfect and musical. They've got the right amount of dynamics, everything about it. I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but he was amazing. Amazing guitar player. And for years I've tried to get that Plexi sound that he's got out of the Marshall DSL. It's the only reason I'd go and buy a Plexi. It's just to get the Randy Rhoads tone. I guess looking at the Marshall trying to make it sound like a Plexi, it doesn't do it on its own. You need EQs to go along with it. But the basic settings of the Marshall to get you in the ballpark is the presence has to be on full, the gain's wound right back, and you wind back the treble to suit just fighting that presence, so that the presence really gives the amp that shimmery, really harsh attack that the Plexi is renowned for when it's at full volume. And then when you wind the treble back, it darkens the tone enough, but you still get that really bright sort of splash attack that he has. And to compensate the fact that the gain's wound so far down, we've had to turn the volume up just to make the amp sound a bit thicker. And there's a fair bit of reverb going on there as well, but I find the digital reverb in the DSL it's just really cool. It's a great reverb. One of the best reverbs I've found on any amp. I prefer it much over a spring. They've tuned it in really well. And that's about everything to say with the amp. For the guitar, I'm using my Jackson RR5. This is the Japanese model, about 08. And it's got Seymour Duncan SH4 and SH2 pickups in it. Rosewood neck. It's just a really nice guitar that I do a lot of recording, a lot of tracking on, and I know the tone is there every time. I've got 10 to 52 gauge strings on it. I can't get away from that heavy feel. I really like to dig in with the pick and make notes ring out. And then going through the front end of the amp, we've got the wild overdrive, and that's backed right off, or just the gain's just up a little smidge just to give a tiny bit of grit there. And that's going into the MXR 6-band EQ. And this is scooping out the bass a fair bit because that Rhoads tone is sort of really boxy in the mids. And it's pushing up the mids there and just scooping off in the trebles, just so it's got a real sort of that... And there's no noise gate or anything involved with this tone. You sort of want all the noise you can get. And that's how the front end of the amp's just set up. I know it's totally different than how Randy drove his Plexi, but it's a totally different setup, totally different way to get this sound. But hopefully we're in the ballpark. And going through the effects lip, I've got the MXR 10-band EQ, and that's really taking all the high and the bass frequencies out of the mix just to leave you with that really mid sound. And it's boosted right up around the 500K. It was really difficult to get this because everything you're trying to do, it's really counterintuitive to how the amp is working as well, but you're trying to get the EQ and the effects loop, the front end and the amp to work together to sound like a Plexi. And as easy as you think it should be to do it, it was really difficult just to try and get that balance where it's just not too harsh on your ears, but you're getting that chime. You're scooping out those frequencies in the EQ in the 10 band, but you don't want to lose that sound either. And you might have noticed I went to the trouble of getting Ollie his own microphone there on the perch, but he's not using it and he's going to sleep instead. But that's okay. On with the show. And a trick that Randy used often, and it works really well when you're making covers or you just want to record for yourself with this sort of tone, just record it twice and just pan it left and right, like 45 or 50%. And you'll find you'll get that really nice overlap of tones, especially on the solos. I did it in the intro with the I Don't Know solo. I just recorded one side first and came back and did the other side live. And you really get that tone that's unique to the record. It's not an exact plexi that we've copied today, but I think it does sound close enough to the record that I'd be happy doing a cover or something using this tone. You've just got to think of his tone and break it up to really get those dynamics right. But if he's pedaling on one string, it doesn't really get that abrasive chug that the Marshall's renowned for. It's more of like a dull thud. But then when you hit the chords, they've really got to splash out and sound a little bit sort of very mid-range and rich. And then for the little licks and the solos and things, you don't want those ear-piercing or screechy. You've just got to have mid-range and have them sit right. As far as his tone goes on the record, no song is recorded the same. The tone is a little bit different for each. Some of them are a little bit more abrasive and sharper than others, and you achieve that just by winding up and down the 16K on the EQ. You don't have to wind it far, but just winding it up a little tiny bit. And if I was using this tone to try and play in a live scenario, I would be using the carbon copy delay and a chorus just for the solos, just to really boost things up and make it sound like there's two guitars in a way. It'll thicken things up a lot just for that live scenario, but if you're at home just recording and trying to get that sound, just record it twice and pan them each way and you'll be right in the ballpark. But it's the closest I've got using the Marshall DSL to try and get this tone. I tried lots of things to start with. I tried the MXR 10 band in the front end, but the 6 actually does this one closer. I tried the Boss DS1 distortion, but I found my signal clipped a little bit too much going into it, even though it would have given me that nice old school sort of front end distortion, that breakup. And the Super Overdrive, the SD1, I found that just had too much of that sort of solid state style gain that it adds, and it drifts away from the classic sound of the plexi that I wanted. So the MXR Wild Overdrive, it actually was the closest that I've got, but you guys might have something that's better than that or give you a closer tone. And but all that being said, love Randy Rhoads, and I really enjoyed making this video today. Another tone out of the DSL that blew me away, but I still want a plexi. I still want one. I still want to drive the amp. I want to get that tone to a T. I think it could be one of those tones that's not actually that good, but we just love the music so much that we want to capture that tone. We want to play and use it and do Randy covers and play the notes that he did, and in that we love it. So again, thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next time, and take care. Bye.